11 years and 22 films have led up to this moment. Did Endgame meet up to expectations, or was the pressure too much even for Marvel? Today we discuss on Dungeon Crawlers.
This episode of Dungeon Crawlers Radio is brought to you by Geek Girl Realty. Are you looking for that fortress of solitude or a cottage in the woods? Geek Girl Realty can help you out. Check them out at www.geekgirlrealty.com.
Dungeon Crawlers.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Dungeon Crawlers, where the reviews are real, but the points don't matter. That's right. We're going to be talking about the latest movie to come out, which, well, let's just say a lot of people have been expecting it. It's almost highly anticipated as the new Star Wars movie. That would be Avengers Endgame.
I would say more eagerly anticipated. This is a film that's had 22 films leading up to this epic conclusion.
And not a lot of letdowns.
So,
except for the Marvel marketing department. Dan, before the show, was just talking about how he almost inadvertently, today, he was talking about the show, and he had coworkers that hadn't seen it. And so the spoiler, don't spoil the endgame, is still going, and yet Marvel themselves have actually posted video reviews saying, hey, we're the biggest movie in America, with active spoilers that they purposefully kept out of the public eye. When this movie's been out for 3 days officially. So, Marvel, what's the deal? Like, you make this big deal about hiding all of these spoilers from trailers, right? Purposefully deceiving us, and then 3 days after the films come out, you post a video on your Instagram revealing so many spoilers. Daniel, can we actually talk about spoilers? Can we have that spoiler review right now so we can talk about this?
We will. But first, I don't think it's Marvel. I think it's Disney. Didn't Disney do this with some of the Star Wars Rebels episodes where, like, not even 30 minutes or an hour after a release of an episode, it was already on the internet?
I know that they did do that, but was that Disney or was that Marvel? Or was that the actual marketing department from the Star Wars team?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they're technically owned by the same company, so I would assume it would have to be that.
It just surprises me with
Are their
how
marketing
much.
departments the same, though, or different?
See, that's what I don't know. I mean, that's the one thing we don't know, is where is the line? Where's the wall? Where's the separation between Fox, between Marvel, between Star Wars and so on, and Disney? We don't know. But as far as this movie, clearly, everyone's super excited. They don't want to hear spoilers. Everyone's saying, hey, don't spoil this movie. And then here it is, the company that puts it out is spoiling it for everyone. It was so bad. It was so bad. There was a gentleman that was walking out of a theater this weekend, talking about it to his friends. Unfortunately, past a group of people that were just going in to see the movie, completely spoiled the entire movie to him. That guy ended up in the ER because they beat the living crap out of him.
That seems a bit dramatic.
It is. I mean, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but geek culture has become so polarized that we have become the very thing that we hated growing up.
That's true.
We hated the bullies that beat up on us, that teased us, that picked on us. And I feel like now that we've reached that status of, hey, we're just as cool as everyone else, it's become toxic in a way. I mean, you've seen what's happened. I mean, celebrities have been chased off of social media because of characters they've played. I mean, come on. The gal that played Rose in the last Star Wars movie was just doing her job. She wasn't doing anything inappropriate. She was doing her job, and people chased her off of social media. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, James Gunn, it's great that he's back. He was fired from a job for comments and things he had said over 10 years ago. That's just not fair. It's crazy where fandom has gone in various ways.
We could probably debate about this on its entire show because I've got a lot of things to say about that. But also, I mean, we have to talk about the endgame and the good points, the bad points, the ugly points, and everything in between.
So we're going to put it this way. We're going to spoil some stuff. If you do not want to know, leave now. Pause the show. Go away. Come back. after you've seen Endgame. This movie has a lot that can be ruined and spoiled for you. So go. Now, we love you. Come back, but go.
Yes.
We're trying to protect you.
With that said, we're moving forward. And if you're still listening, it's your own fault.
We can't shield you forever.
Shield.
You're welcome.
The movie.
Yes, the movie.
The movie Endgame. Very anticipated, as we've said. I'm probably going to have tomatoes thrown at me, bricks, who knows. I am not on board with everyone that's saying this was a fantastic movie.
But I loved it.
It was a good movie.
I'm just going to put this right out there. Just initial. I've given it a solid B+.
Wow.
Just to start. Like I feel like I kind of just want to throw that out there. And through this review, actually, as we discuss, I'm sure we're going to talk about some of the more specifics. I might change that, but
yeah.
Initial thoughts about everything, like, oh yeah, it's probably going to go up after this. After we have our little discussion. So.
Well, I mean, so here's my feelings on it. It was very highly anticipated. There was a lot of hype. Mm-hmm. This was the end of this kind of 10, 11-year saga. You know, what the last series of movies, the last decade, they've now dubbed the Infinity Saga. They built up a really awesome start with Infinity War. Then we have Endgame, and I feel like it was a huge letdown.
Now you're saying story-wise, how are you saying it's a letdown compared? Because I agree. It's not as powerful as Infinity War. Infinity War was a very well-structured story. We fell in love with the villain. Like, we didn't agree with him, but we understood him. And then,
I didn't fall in love with him.
That's okay.
We understood where he was coming from, though. You wouldn't expect to relate that much with a villain, and they did a great job of, I want to say, humanizing him, like making his end goal believable.
Yeah.
I feel like we kind of lost that focus once we got to this movie.
Yeah, I mean, in this movie, I felt like it was very broken. And I know it's a full story. We're jumping into the last half of the story. I feel like it was broken. There's a lot of holes in it. The best way to describe it is I wanted a nice plate of Havarti cheese, delicious, wonderful, but instead of that, I got a plate full of Swiss cheese. There's a lot of plot holes that they didn't explain, they didn't fill. The weird 5-year jump, the sudden appearance of Banner Hulk with no explanation other than, oh yeah, I was just messing with some gamma rays and junk. Yeah. That was off-putting. I would have really loved to have seen that. The beginning just felt really hokey. They go there, events happen.
We're in spoiler territory. It's good.
Yeah, as much as everyone loves Chris Hemsworth without his shirt off, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will not be appealed by that this time.
Oh, that was so disturbing.
I loved that. Okay, can I just say, it's so nice to actually have a male superhero that shares my body image. I appreciate that. As a fat fan, I loved that. Like, I am sick of seeing all these super athletic, super fit guys. No, give me reality, and that I appreciated more than anything else in this film.
You know,
I was cringing. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it.
I like Chris Hemsworth and give him points for doing this. Because I get it. What he did, they all failed, and he went into a depression. I love seeing that from the heroes. Mm-hmm. The things that I didn't like was the MacGuffin. For those of you that don't know what a MacGuffin is, it's pretty much a literary term where they use something because they can't figure out how to make a story work, so they just use some weird random thing.
Oh, thank you for explaining that, because I meant to have you explain that to me in the chat earlier.
Yeah, no problem. So, Nebula, her neural network, how in the heck do the two of them share the same neural network? They are not even the same person anymore. Her from the future and her from the past, completely different people. There is no way that neural network can function the same.
Maybe it's the cloud.
See, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. she is an autonomous person that has had cybernetic implants put on her. I really hated that. I really felt like that didn't work very well. And I know they needed to reintroduce the villain. I think using past Thanos was really dumb. I would have rather the current Thanos that had won be kind of the villain throughout the story.
Yeah.
But instead they got rid of him, and then they used the past Thanos that didn't have the Infinity Gauntlet. Now I do know a couple people have said, well, how in the heck could he have gone toe to toe with he didn't have the gauntlet? His armor and his sword are enchanted, and that's what gave him the power. He shed those when he got the gauntlet because he didn't need those enchantments or anything any longer. So he is that strong.
It would have also been nice to have seen him, and I want to hear from Mackenzie. I get the feeling that she's not feeling well and might get snapped here in a second. In fact, you know what? Let's go to Mackenzie. I want to come back to this point because I want to hear about what Mackenzie thinks real quick before.
Yeah, I'm not feeling too good here, guys. I might turn to dust. You know what? I loved it. I may be in the minority here, but I can live with the plot holes. I can live with a lot of things. My favorite part of the movie was seeing Captain America wielding Mjolnir and the shield at the same time and being a badass. That was, and then he got his happy ending. Like, of all the characters, I can argue, I'm sure I'm going to get hate for this because I'm sure everybody's going to argue Iron Man deserved the happy ending, but Captain America did. I'm sorry. I may be biased. Just a little bit. But
No,
I loved it.
Yeah, I like the fact he got that happy ending. And here's the thing. You do see the breadcrumbs throughout the movie. You know, when he stops and looks at Peggy through the window, you know something's going to happen there. That 1970s scene really kind of, at least for me, showed me what the ending was going to be like.
Yeah.
There's several breadcrumbs, especially for Tony's character, that were dropped.
There was a lot of humanity in that 1970s scene.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of humanity when they went back to the past because all of them kind of failed at one point. And I really loved seeing the ancient one back with Tilda Swinton. Like, there was a lot of nostalgia in this movie that I love. Like, I love having Thor when he had closure with his mom.
Yeah.
I love that.
And she's like, no, don't tell me. My story's over.
Yeah. No, they did a good job. Don't get me wrong.
I don't feel good. But
All
Wait,
right.
what was your grade? What was your grade?
She disappeared.
Oh, we'll never know.
There
Well,
was the
that's-
snap.
Time machine. We'll have to get a time machine.
Yes. Anyways, really,
No, yeah.
again,
Yeah.
it was a fantastic movie. They put all the pieces together
Hold on,
in a fantastic way.
Let's keep on going where we're going with this. So Cap's arc, like, I agree. I liked seeing his arc from that he does end up. He's a man at a time. He's always been a man at a time, and I enjoyed. And I was hoping that they would, as soon as I said time travel, I was hoping that they would have him end up with Peggy. And of course, that has so many new implications that he's been there this entire time. But aside from all that, it was so nice. And does that mean that there's a possibility that, like, Agent 13 is related to Cap? Is that what?
Possibly.
I'm my own grandpa.
So there's a lot of weird things now. He's been there the whole time. There's the question: how could Hydra then grow up within S.H.I.E.L.D. with him knowing that? Because it's his future self that's gone into the past to be back with Peggy. Honestly, this film now creates more questions and a giant can of worms than before.
Can we let's go into that then? Let's talk about the Endgame's time travel theory, because from what I understand, they've set up a brand new time travel theory that says, yes, you can go back to your own past. You can change. You can go back to your own past. You can experience it. You can even join in it. But if you make any changes large enough to change the timeline, you create an alternate reality timeline.
Correct.
Different than your own.
Yes.
Similar to Back to the Future, except Back to the Future had only one timeline. This one, it's saying, no, it creates an alternate timeline entirely, right?
Yeah. So, they did put that in there. The Ancient One said that. Even returning the Infinity Stones. Yeah, I see. This is where there's so many questions, and I feel like they just opened. There's too many plot holes now.
Yeah.
Well,
how they have two different, like, there are at least two of these Earths, these timelines that they've gone to, that they have completely changed. The one where Loki escapes with the Tesseract.
It's 1 o'clock.
Yep.
And the one where Gamora and past Thanos come forward, and we're now dealing with a Gamora that more or less believes in Thanos' philosophy. I mean, I know she never really went all in, but we have a different Gamora from that timeline, and we've removed Thanos from that timeline. So now we've got two alternate realities at least, right? Or do we have more?
I mean, we know of two. And this is the thing that makes no sense, okay? They bring Thanos to the future. He's wiped out. Again, spoilers. He's wiped out. He doesn't exist. How can this... all these events should not exist. He's gone. There wasn't the Infinity War. He never got the gauntlet. Tony shouldn't have died.
Well, that's why I'm saying it created one alternate timeline where none of that ever happened. But our timeline, as far as we're concerned, our past has happened, which means that we brought him from another timeline, changing that timeline, or that now alternate reality. But at the same, yeah, you're right. So we did change one of those, but ours had already happened. Ours had already been set.
Yeah. So that's the confusing thing, because everything we've ever seen with time, you cannot, if you change one thing in the past, everything moving forward changes. What is that Ray Bradbury book called? Something Thunder or some, where they go back in the past and he steps on a butterfly.
Right. Yeah.
I can't believe I can't remember that. Anyways,
it's the butterfly effect. Right.
But the butterfly effect. That's pretty much how time travel has always been explained until this movie, and it's just
except for Star Trek, except for the Star Trek reboot, they actually said no. We went back in time and we created an alternate reality timeline.
You're right, but that previous timeline no longer exists.
Well, no, they said it does. That's because they got a lot of hate for that. But they said, no, the original timeline, Star Trek timeline exists. It still exists. All of our Voyager, our Next Generation, all those still exist. That reality still exists. This created an alternate timeline reality, an alternate reality. And that's what they're trying to say with this. But at the same time, they have things that don't make sense. Like Cap going back in time and then showing up along that timeline. He should have created another alternate timeline unless he literally changed nothing.
And then he's kind of a worthless hero, in my opinion. Because how can you be Captain America in the past and not make dramatic changes? Because literally, I mean, we've seen him time and time again where he has gone against, the fold, because that's who he is. That's his morals. That's his ethics.
Yeah. To
go back in time to be with Peggy and not change anything, that's really hard to swallow, in my opinion. That's a really hard pill to swallow, just to say, okay, I'm going to ignore every bad thing that's ever happened until I meet up with Falcon and hand over the shield.
Mm-hmm.
Let everything play out. I mean, I get he's an old man, why he wouldn't have shown up during the Infinity War stuff. But everything leading up to that, the one German scientist that hit himself into a computer, I mean, just all those things.
The shield being completely by Hydra. That's there's a lot. Yeah, there is a lot, and so it seems like in this movie with the time travel, they literally say, I'm recalling a scene from one of the Austin Powers movies where he goes back in time, where the guy looks at the camera and says, don't think too hard about it. And you in the audience, just sit back and relax. But we as nerds, we like to think about all those details, like Back to the Future, and we like thinking about time being one fluid river, that if redirected, the river is still a river. I mean, it's... But this really does kind of throw multiple theories, and you literally have to just say, you know what? I just have to to let it go. Because also when he returns all the stones, there's some stones. How could he return the one that's matter? How could he return the soul stone to Red Skull? Like,
yeah, I know. And if so, when it's returned, does that mean the life given up comes back? I mean, yeah.
I don't think it would. Or does that mean that's an alternate reality again? Like,
maybe. Maybe. I mean, the other big thing that really annoyed me is Captain Marvel.
Okay, so one first big annoyance. So we're going off of time travel. We're letting that go. We've talked about it. If that was your big problem, then we're letting that go. We're moving on. So you're saying Captain Marvel was another big hindrance to you?
Yep, Captain Marvel. So the end of Infinity War, we see the pager, we see her symbol, and then we have a movie because we have to have her in the ending of this movie.
Right.
We see her at the beginning of the movie, and she's like, "Well, you didn't defeat Thanos because you didn't have me." We come up to the final battle with Thanos, and she's not even there. I mean, just not there. And then when she finally does show up, it's like in the last few minutes of the movie. It's just ridiculous. I guess she's out in the universe doing stuff, but what the heck? She finally shows up. She's fighting Thanos. She's pretty much doing the same thing that Cap did in the last movie. The only difference is she's blasting him around, but she's still going toe-to-toe. We see the same scene where she grabs his hand and starts bending fingers backwards.
Yeah, we see.
I felt like Captain America with Mjolnir did more damage and beat the crap out of Thanos more than she did. I feel like, and I'm, again, probably going to get crap for this, but I don't feel like she was a good character in this movie. I feel like it was just like, okay, we're throwing her in. We have this really cool moment where all the other female characters surround her and say, "We've got this," which is a cool moment, especially for, young girls out there that want to be superheroes and be someone awesome. That was really cool for that. But I just don't feel like she needed to be in the movie. I feel like they crammed her in, and there's just no real reason for her to be there. And I hate to say that, but that's how it felt to me. Because, I mean, even the lady I was sitting next to, multiple times through the movie, she's like, "Where's Captain Marvel? Where's Captain Marvel?" And when she finally shows up, she's like, "Finally." And, I mean, voicing the same thing that I was saying to myself in the head. Mm-hmm. And it felt really odd. Granted, I did love when Cap got Mjolnir, and then Thor's like, "I knew it," because we saw that.
Yeah,
that was Age of Ultron, where everyone was trying to pick it up, no one could, and then you see it wiggle a little bit with Cap, and you see Thor's eyes widen. And that was an amazing moment. That was cool.
It was. Well, hold on. Before we go on to the hammer, because that's a whole new thing. Let's finish up with Captain Marvel. No, and I agree to an extent. Like, you have this supremely powerful character that can fly through alien ships, completely destroying entire fleets. And then you've kind of got this. She's overpowered. She really is OP'd, and so I hope in the next movie I don't see any other way they can other than either to turn her evil and have her come back, or to deprive her of her powers so she has to earn them back. Like, because it's so hard to write someone who can stand up to anything. But I mean, even then, she got her power from a side explosion in this reality. She got her power from a side explosion of one of the stones, the Tesseract's power. Like, it's just, that's where she gets her power. So technically, like, Thanos with all 6 stones should be able to beat her because he's got the Tesseract itself. He's got the power source that powered her plus 5, I mean, so it makes sense that he should be able to beat her, to me.
But he didn't have the gems.
Huh?
But he didn't have the gems at the time she was fighting him.
You're right.
So if he had that gauntlet, and granted, that's another, and I know a lot of people are like, well, why was the gauntlet hurting everyone? Well, the gauntlet that is forged by the dwarves can channel and harness the magic. That's the reason Hulk was burned. That's the reason Tony died, is because the gauntlet they created could not properly channel the power, and it was feeding back, and that's what was burning and actually physically harming them.
Well, no, it's because the Infinity Stones are so powerful that unless you have the ability to harness that power, it will kill you. Like, we see Star-Lord able to hold the power because he's part, basically, deity. And Thanos is just so strong, as far as I understand. He's like you compared him to Superman as far as his strength, and Hulk. It makes sense. Like, it's just the stones themselves are so powerful. I don't think it was necessarily the gauntlet as much, because even the gauntlet was fried twice. Like, it was barbecued in both times it was used. When we see him fall through the portal,
when he destroyed the stones or whatever he did, it nearly killed him. He does have a lot of power. He is immensely powerful. And then he does have his armor and his weapon, which are enchanted and give him more strength and power. But still, she struggled to fight against him. And I wanted to see something different. Because the whole point, she was saying, well, if it wasn't for me, that's the reason you didn't defeat him. Because you didn't have me. And it just made this feel like she was this really important component to the recipe of why they failed. With her, they would succeed. And they still didn't. She still wasn't. Yeah. It just felt really kind of hokey. Like, there was a lot of things that they hyped up and failed to deliver on. Other things.
No, I agree. They didn't hype her up
really well.
But I wouldn't want. I honestly, I was worried about that they would have her come in, and all these heroes that we've seen over 22 films would be fighting, and then we would need, this extra person that we didn't have. She would just fix everyone's problems. And I'm really glad that they didn't do that. They had our characters that we loved, that we've fallen in love with over 22 films. We've had a chance to be able to have them come back and still shine, even though their power is nothing compared to hers. And I appreciate that, personally.
No, and don't get me wrong. I do like the character. I like what they've done. My problem is why wasn't she there? Part of the plan. Why wasn't she there? And I get it kind of explained like, well, there's other planets out there that don't have you guys. Okay, I get that. But still, here's their final game plan to go against Thanos. Why is she not part of it?
Right, they should have reached out to her before they tried this whole time travel thing. And I hope this is leading up for the next movie of hers, that she is out in the universe, that we are seeing some of those other things that she's fighting. I hope that she's not on Earth for the next one, personally. But
and then we have what Nebula does, killing herself. So how does she exist?
Again, the alternate timeline, though. Like, they've created this alternate reality timeline, and the other reality just doesn't have a Nebula, as well as a Thanos, as well as a Gamora, as well as, like, the entire army. Like, they're just gone.
See, that's where it's really tough and hard to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow, because it's like they're basically leaning on, okay, this reality, they've lived through that, they pulled this Thanos from another reality over, and that's really who it is. So once you see it that way, okay, it can work. But that's the hard pill to swallow, and that's something they didn't really explain. That they're not really time traveling. They're moving to another reality.
Yeah.
Because they don't really call it time travel. They call it quantum jumping.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best way to think of it. They're not really jumping through time. They're actually moving to another reality where things happen slightly different, but very much the same, and they're pulling the stones from there. That's why they have to go back with the stones.
Which, again, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow, especially when we've had such very clear rules stated for time travel and parallel universe travel. Like, we've had so many movies. This is the first one, other than Star Trek, I guess, if you want to count that, where they specifically kind of combine them both. And it's... Even Back to the Future, it was still one time. Yes, it created an alternate, skewed timeline, but they could go back and change it back, because it was still a timeline that they were stuck in. It was still a single timeline, technically. It's just time flowed in a different direction, Here, it's saying, no, it's multiples, and so it makes me wonder if we're going to address that in any future movie where we talk about these parallels.
See, and this is the thing that was really confusing, because the Ancient One says, if you remove these, it schisms off.
Yeah.
And it did. But then Bruce is like, well, if we return them, then it will make it as if it never happened. That schism didn't happen. So that's where I really struggled, because that was the whole point of what Cap did, is he took the stones back so that new alternate reality or alternate timeline doesn't exist. So that again is a contradiction unto itself, because now we have this alternate reality separate from this current reality. So again, that's kind of where I feel like there's plot holes. That's where I feel like they didn't do enough explaining.
Right.
As a movie lover, someone that's just going to go see a fun film, great movie. It's going to be a good movie. It's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be a lot of really cool stuff that happens. They do achieve their goal. We see heroes that we've loved come back.
They play a lot of fan service with this time travel. It's basically, for me, this was, hey guys, remember that epic movie? Like, the first part, I loved how they actually, so the 3 acts that they have here. Act 1 is all about, like, seeing the post-traumatic stress that's been caused to all of the heroes. Like, I loved actually seeing the real-world implications of Survivor Syndrome, I believe it's called, right?
Yeah.
And I love seeing that both in Thor, in everybody, really, except for Hulk, who basically... let's talk about that later. We see the reality. We see them each dealing with it in their own. I love Tony, how he dealt with it and how he moved on with his family, which is incredible. I love his story. And then part 2, which was a Back to the Future time travel, wibbly-wobbly, like, fan service. Hey, remember all the movies that brought us here? Let's have some more fun in those playgrounds. Like, jumping back to those playgrounds, bringing in almost every character that we've loved through all these movies, having these little moments like the elevator fight scene, reaching back to that comic book, Hail Hydra. Love that. I loved all this fan service that we got. Like, it was like fan service the movie. That really was what part 2, or the second block was. And then the end battle was, hey, you ever wanted to see everybody who you've ever wanted to fight each other? Here they go. Like, against this monstrous CGI disposable army. It was fun to see everybody. I loved especially seeing Pepper actually come full arc. I would have liked to see her use her ability that she got in Iron Man 3 more and less of the suit, but I'm still thrilled to see her in the suit. I loved her working with Tony. I loved seeing that end battle. I loved how they put that together. It still didn't feel as cohesive of a story. Okay, here, going back to what you were saying about how it felt disjointed, unlike Infinity War, which was very solid, it's because Infinity War we had one main character that we were following, which was Thanos. We were following him and his story arc. This movie felt more like a disjointed team trying to work together, which really perfectly exemplifies what the Avengers are. They're a team of flawed, humanistic individuals that are working together to try to be heroes. And they are flawed. Each one of them has their own flaws. And that's what the first Avengers movie was all about, was them trying to work together. Granted, it takes us time to get traction. Yes, they aren't perfect, but neither are we. And so I kind of enjoyed seeing that in the story. I would have liked it to be a little bit more cohesive, since this was the crowning movie in this saga.
The crowning jewel, yeah.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen it tie together a little bit more cohesively on those 3 parts, but at the same time, I cried. I had a great time, and I really did enjoy how they brought it all together. Even though they had those 3 very disjointed sections that they put together, because it didn't feel like it was a 3-hour rush of 3 separate sections or 3 separate movies. It felt very cohesive to me.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I was just expecting a grand ending. The ending we got, I felt, like I said, it was disjointed. They did a good job. I mean, as best they could. Like you said, I did like the fact of what they did with each of the heroes. You had Cap, who was being the optimistic one, the one full of hope, the one trying to heal those around him. Tony was the one that just wanted to ignore it all. He wanted to just go off and just ignore life and do whatever he could. Thor just could not get over his guilt, his grief, and just went into a drunken stupor, I guess is the best way to say it. We have Clint, who Hawkeye, they went on a murderous rampage from losing his family. Natasha was trying to be the leader, the one that was trying to find a solution. And we have Hulk, which just, Banner did his own thing and then ends up being some like celebrity because he's now Banner Hulk.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen that transformation like you were mentioning earlier, because it really was, like, I know he has multiple personalities. One personality is the Hulk, one personality is Banner, but they don't treat it like that in the movies. They treat them like two separate characters.
Yeah.
Very distinctly. And so to lose the Hulk, because I know he says he combined the two, but that sounds like Banner. It doesn't sound, I don't hear any Hulk. I see the Hulk, but it feels like he's wearing the Hulk's body. He's wearing a Hulk suit. Like, it feels like Hulk is dead, and it's Banner. It's Banner Hulk, but knowing that they're just split personalities and he just reunified the personalities, that brings me closure. But with how they built up those characters actually interacting with each other, it didn't feel like a resolution, because I felt like they are two separate characters in this universe, and I would have liked to have seen something else along those lines.
I mean, they are two different. And that's one of the things I really wish they would have shown, where you would have seen Bruce after the defeat going, okay, I need to figure this out. And we see that he does what he does and merges the two. I mean, the Banner Hulk that we have, it literally is Hulk's body with Bruce's brain.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. And that was the way it was in the comics for a long time. So it was okay. It just was really jarring to suddenly be that after a whole movie where we're fighting to get the Hulk out and he refuses. It would have been nice to see him bringing the Hulk out and fusing them together. So, hey, the Hulk is here now, and I'm in control.
Especially with that buildup of, we've got some things to work out. Like, it felt like it was going to be a buddy-buddy movie. It felt like, oh, here's a trial, here's a challenge, let's conquer it. And then we just jump to, oh, it's conquered.
Yeah. So that was really weird. All in all, we did get an ending. We got an ending to this.
Oh, hold on. Before we go to the ending, let's. Sorry, I'm excited about talking about each individual character arc. Sorry, I love the character arcs. I do love how Tony put his family first. Like,
yes.
He failed the Earth, and so he dedicated his life to his wife and his daughter, and that meant so much to me. And even when he was thinking, I could sit on this, I could let this go, it's time travel, I'm risking losing our daughter. Like, I know that's selfish. I know that that's so selfish, but at the same time, he talked to Pepper about it. He brought it forward, and that's showing his unselfishness. He's saying, I can do this. And she said, but you won't. Like, it shows his selfish side and his unselfish side, and how he has put his family first.
Well, this is the thing. When we first see Tony, he's a selfish a-hole.
Yeah.
He really is. By the time we get to this point in time, he isn't. He has a daughter. His whole perspective has changed. That's why I think the moment we see in 1970 with his father, that's when I saw that. That's when I really knew something was going to happen with him, because he's hated his dad. He has resented his father for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation brought him some closure to realize my dad did the best he could. He was scared. He didn't know how to handle someone just like him. And I mean, Tony really is just like him. And when he gives him a hug, it's just like, I knew at that moment that was something was going to happen to Tony.
Yeah.
But you're right. He had a very great story arc. We've seen a great story arc with him. Captain America, his story arc wasn't as drastic as his, because you really can't bend Cap that much. He's just straightforward. But it was good to see that ending for him. Thor, I really liked what happened to Thor.
Yeah.
Thor's always been kind of this indestructible, like Superman. But we got to see him he was broken.
He was
very
hurt.
emotional.
Oh.
he was very emotional, and I like seeing that because he's always been gruff and nothing can harm me. And we see that something harmed him.
Yeah.
His armor has been broken. He doesn't. I mean, he can't even do the mission with Rocket. And then he meets with his mom, and she heals the wounds, which I think is fantastic. And he really needed that.
No,
You know,
it was beautiful to see that character arc. See that he can be hurt. He can
Yeah.
experience pain. He can be stopped. And because he is overpowered. He is powerful, and seeing that just made him very, very human. It was, and the body image. Love the body image. We've all been there.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, I liked all the arcs were good. I really wish they wouldn't have done what they did to Natasha either.
Yeah. I did love her and Hawkeye together and how that resolved, but at the same time, that's one point that still bothers me about the story. I know that it was written this way because of the script, and that without this, there wouldn't have been a story. Like, it would have been an hour movie, if that, maybe a 45-minute movie. But when they're thinking, how can we... Where's a place where all the Infinity Stones have been together? Is there a place? But we have to... the snap still has to happen. And I'm just thinking, okay, so the snap happened, and then what was it, like 22 days afterwards, right? Here's a second energy surge on this planet. So you've got a 22-day window right there where that he's on the planet, he's recovering from the first snap, he's preparing for the second snap. You have 22 days right there where all 6 stones are in one place, and you don't have to sacrifice Natasha. And that bothers me. That's bothered me for the last 3 days. I'm just like, you don't have to sacrifice Natasha. You can get the stone back and try to fix Vision. I still believe that there's a possibility of fixing Vision. And, like, there's so many... Tony will be alive. Like, anyway, I know it has to be the way that it is for the story. But
why not zap in right behind Thanos just before the snap, take his head off? They've already taken the head off before.
Yeah, you're worried about creating an alternate timeline? That would create an alternate timeline right there. Let's live in the alternate timeline.
There you go. You just took care of the stones. The snap doesn't happen. No one died. Hooray! Yeah. I mean, it's like those how it should have ended.
Yeah.
Like, you see Doctor Strange's coat go off, wrap around the glove, lift Thanos up off the ground. He creates one of those ring gates, lowers him down, and cuts it off right on the arm below the gauntlet. The end.
Yeah. But
why
again,
that? I don't know.
And then we wouldn't have the movie that we have. We wouldn't have the building. We wouldn't have the people being human and seeing that. And that's really why we go to these movies, is to experience that. And on the plus side, if Robert Downey Jr. really wants to come back again, it feels like it kind of takes away from the sacrifice. It really does. But if we want any of these characters to come back, we have that alternate timeline where alternate Thanos has jumped to the future to die, where Tony's alive, Vision's alive, Black Widow's alive. Everybody is still alive, except for Coulson. Coulson is still toast, no matter how you look at it. Coulson is dead, unless you love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like I do, in which case he's just hiding out and getting ready to die.
So we'll just have to see. I do understand these guys. They're done. They want to move on to other things.
Yeah.
And these characters, especially like Robert Downey Jr., he's been Tony Stark for 11 years. I get it. Totally wants to move on. He's done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
We can definitely have different Iron Man with Pepper, but I know Gwyneth Paltrow said she's done. Maybe we have a daughter. We have their daughter that grows up and she's in the Iron Man suit. Or, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. However, no matter what you say, you're gonna love going to see the movie. It is
it's true.
a way to, it is closure. It is an ending. I'm a writer. God's a filmmaker. We see things differently. You, as a moviegoer, are going to see things differently. You're going to probably enjoy it differently than we would. That plot holes bug me. Some of the way they did things drive me nuts. Still a good movie. I still buy it. I'm still going to watch it. And maybe when I watch the two together, I'll sit down and watch Infinity War and this one together. Maybe it'll feel a little bit more cohesive because we did have to wait a year. And maybe it won't feel as disjointed. I'll just have to see. As far as my grade, I'm teetering on a B and a B plus. It's definitely not an A. It's not like this amazing thing that I wanted it to be. I really wanted to go in there and have this epic battle. I wanted it to be against the Thanos that had the gauntlet with the gems. And it really felt weird. I almost felt like Last Jedi weird. When Luke throws the lightsaber off, when they kill Thanos, just lopping his head immediately off. It really felt like, holy crap, what did they just do? Type thing. But overall, it was good. They brought the characters back that we wanted. They accomplished their goal. We saw some really cool epic things. We saw Cap with Mjolnir. We saw Thor double wielding Stormbringer and Mjolnir. We saw some really cool things. I mean, we did. I will admit that.
Could it have been better? Yeah, I agree with you. It could have been better. It could have had. There's a lot that they could have done, but honestly, given where they came from, 22 films, having this be the capstone of 11 years or 10 years worth of movies, given all that, and I agree and I respect your grade. I respect your opinion on that one. Thinking about this as much as we have in this interview, because this is a long show.
Yeah.
I have to raise my grade to an A, actually.
Okay.
Not an A plus, but an A. Like, it is. Is it an amazing movie? Is it A minus? Let's say A minus. It is not the best movie ever made, but given what they had to accomplish in this movie, given how high the stakes were, how high everything, how much was expected from this movie, how much everybody wanted the conclusion to be powerful and what they were able to do. It was an amazing feat. I don't see Hollywood ever being able to do this again with any kind of films. 22 films like that. I just don't see that happening again anytime soon. Don't get me wrong. Maybe 5 years later we could be like, wow, this other one was 30 films in such a small time. I regret everything that I say. But right now, it was an amazing accomplishment with what they've done, with how much went into this, and I want to see it again, which is saying a lot for a 3-hour movie.
Yeah, I don't think Marvel will ever be able to duplicate this, to be honest.
No.
No matter how many more movies they put out, I don't think they'll ever be able to create this type of an arc, ever.
Well, especially with the fatigue setting in.
Yeah. So, it's very close to B+. It is a good movie. It is. It's not perfect, but it is a good movie. So for those of you, most, as far as everything I'm hearing, most people are loving it. Most people like it. And I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I was hoping I would. It is still a good movie. It's still worth watching. It's still worth owning. I'm definitely going to own it. It's going to be part of my collection. It will be the crowning, the end to my Infinity Stone saga. Mm-hmm. I just need to make sure I pick up Thor 2 so that I have all of them. But it was good. Could there have been more? Yes. But it really would have been hard. They were already hard-pressed with over 3 hours. I get that. There was a lot of things that they were trying to put in. They probably couldn't. There were some plot holes, some things that maybe didn't sit very well. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you got to pick and choose your battles, right? So,
exactly. And given what they had to accomplish, how much they had to have each character shine, knowing what we know, they accomplished everything that I wanted them to. And they gave Hawkeye lots of screen time, which I love Hawkeye. He's a human. No special abilities, and honestly, everything, I'm happy with how they wrapped everything up. Other than the fact that Vision's still dead, that still hurts my heart immensely. But
Yes.
I still hold out hope because going off of the show review, is it not true that they have green-lighted both a Scarlett Johansson, a Black Widow series, right?
They have, but more than likely it's going to be her past.
More than likely, yeah, because that's where
an assassin.
Yeah, and it's probably going to show Hawkeye actually like being there, and maybe even showing that part where he lets her live, like because that is their past where they keep referring back to in Avengers.
Yeah.
In this movie, they keep going back, and I love that, and I want to see that story. But we've also got a Loki series, right? That's been talked about, and we know that Loki, at least not our Loki is still dead. You realize that?
Yeah.
The Loki in this timeline is still dead after the events of this movie. The only Loki that is still possibly alive is the Loki from the alternate timeline, where he stole the Tesseract. Which technically, they stole that Tesseract. As soon as he stole that Tesseract and disappeared, they altered that timeline. So maybe Thanos caught up with him in the future in that timeline. Maybe Thanos didn't catch up with him in that timeline, because he's attracted by the Tesseract. That's what he's attracted. We don't know. We know that there is a Loki in some alternate timeline, alternate universe out there, and I'm assuming that's the Loki that we'll be following in this new series.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then we're going to get a Scarlet Witch series, and then a Captain America or a Falcon Winter Soldier, which I'm assuming that's when he has the shield.
They should have had Bucky be the next cap. That's minor nitpick, but that's me.
Well, I mean, Falcon does take up the shield after Civil War. Well, they both have at one point or another. So I think I don't know. I'm okay either way. But in the end, good movie, good film. Does it have some issues? Yes. Most films do.
Let me put it this way. And I know that both of them pick up the mantle eventually. Like, I would have liked to have seen both of them. Like, him handing in his shield to both of them saying, you guys are now the captain. Like, I know that's weird having to, but I don't know. Bucky he does have the super soldier serum, right? He's actually...
Yeah.
And maybe Falcon will get something like that. Maybe there's like a super soldier serum with all of that. And I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it, but...
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. All that will be showing up on Disney+. So, all right. Well, we are definitely gone long. We have spoiled the crap out of this for you. Again, the review's in. Points don't matter. Because our opinion is definitely not your opinion. So definitely go see the movie. Take what we've said with a grain of salt.
Yep.
Because ultimately, no matter what we say, other reviewers say, it's totally up to you. We're just here to give you guidelines. Our opinion.
Well, and look at how much money it's making. Everybody's wanting to see this. The reviews are in. Everybody, for the most part, is extremely excited about this movie. Go and give your own opinion. It's definitely one that you don't want to miss in theaters.
Yeah.
Give it a chance to see it in theaters, which I hope you already have because you're listening to this review. If you disagree with us on any point, or if we got anything completely wrong, what you said about the Hulk was completely wrong, let us know. Let's talk about it. Heck, we might even bring you on the show and actually shoot the breeze. Because we're not 100% right ourselves all the time. Like, talk to us about it. Let's hear your opinions.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm definitely going to be seeing it again. Taking my sons to see it, and maybe I'll catch something on the second viewing that I didn't get the first time. But either way, still a good movie. Go see it. Support these films because they're fantastic. They have done a fantastic job with these characters. And with that said, we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, and enjoy the fact that Ant-Man did actually go into someone's orifice in this movie. If you didn't know whose, check it out.
Yep.
Dungeon Crawlers.